Hi everyone, this is Professor Jeff Hastings, and welcome to our video covering Chapter 2, The Role of Biology in Psychology from your textbook by Grayson and Gazzaniga. In this video, we're going to explore how biology influences our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. We'll discuss how the brain works, the role of the nervous system, and how neurotransmitters and hormones affect us. We'll also touch on the challenges faced by those with learning disabilities and how they can overcome them. Let's get started. Before we dive deeper into how the brain processes information, let's take a moment to understand the broader role of biology in psychology. This chapter explains how the brain processes information. It covers the different regions of the brain involved in processing sensory input, and how these regions communicate with each other to produce a coherent perception of the world. The chapter also discusses the role of neurotransmitters in brain processing and how they influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Understanding these biological foundations helps us appreciate the complex interplay between our physical brain and our mental experiences. It also sets the stage for exploring more detailed aspects of brain function, such as how specific regions of the brain contribute to different types of processing, and how neurotransmitters act as chemical messengers to affect our mood, cognition, and behavior. With this foundational knowledge, we can better understand how biological processes underpin our psychological experiences and how disruptions in these processes can lead to various mental health challenges. Now, let's move on to see how the brain processes information in more detail. To understand how the brain works, let's start with processing. The brain processes information in different ways. In Chapter 2, your textbook outlines 3 types of processing: sensory input, integration, and motor output. Sensory neurons detect information from the environment and send it to the brain. Interneurons in the brain process that information and then through motor neurons send signals to muscles or glands to produce a response. This sequence, input, integration, and output, forms the core of how we interact with the world. Our brain is divided into 2 hemispheres, the left and right. The left hemisphere is often responsible for logical thinking, language, and analytical tasks, while the right hemisphere is more involved in creativity, spatial awareness, and emotional expression. But don't get too caught up in the myth that people are strictly left-brained or right-brained. While each hemisphere may specialize in certain functions, both sides work together to process most of what we do. The nervous system is our body's communication network and is divided into 2 main parts: the central nervous system, or CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, referred to as PNS. The CNS consists of the brain and spinal cord, controlling most of the body's functions. The PNS connects the CNS to the rest of the body and is further divided into 2 parts: the somatic and autonomic nervous systems. The somatic nervous system controls voluntary movements, like picking up a cup of coffee, while the autonomic nervous system regulates automatic functions, like heart rate and digestion. The autonomic system is also split into 2 divisions: the sympathetic nervous system, which prepares your body for fight or flight responses during stress, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms your body down after the stress has passed. Now let's look at the structure of a neuron, the basic building block of the nervous system. Neurons have 3 main parts: the dendrites, which receive signals, the cell body, which processes those signals, and the axon, which sends the signals to other neurons or muscles. At the end of the axon are terminal buttons, which release chemicals called neurotransmitters to communicate with other neurons. Neurons don't act alone. They communicate with each other by forming neural networks. When a neuron receives enough signals, it sends an electrical impulse down its axon. At the end of the axon, neurotransmitters are released into a gap called the synapse. These neurotransmitters then bind to receptors on the next neuron, either exciting it or inhibiting its activity. Speaking of neurotransmitters, Table 2.1 in your textbook highlights some common ones and their functions. Dopamine is associated with reward and motivation. Serotonin affects mood and emotional states, and acetylcholine plays a key role in muscle control and memory. These chemicals are crucial to how we think and feel every day. In addition to neurotransmitters, the endocrine system is another communication system in the body, but it works through hormones. Hormones are released by glands, like the pituitary gland, and travel through the bloodstream to target tissues. These hormones influence a variety of functions, from growth to metabolism to stress responses. Different hormones and their functions. Some hormones you might have heard of include cortisol, which is released during stress, and testosterone and estrogen, which play roles in sexual development. Melatonin is another important hormone released by the pineal gland that regulates our sleep-wake cycles. Let's move on to the different parts of the brain and their functions. The brain can be divided into several key regions. The hindbrain includes the medulla and cerebellum, which control basic life functions like breathing and balance. The midbrain is involved in processing sensory information. The forebrain, specifically the cerebral cortex, is where complex mental activities like decision-making, memory, and emotions happen. The limbic system, part of the forebrain, regulates our emotional responses. For example, the amygdala deals with fear, while the hippocampus is essential for memory formation. Finally, let's talk about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and reorganize itself. This is especially important for people with learning disabilities who may find that different parts of their brain compensate for others. The key to overcoming challenges with learning disabilities often involves building confidence, persistence, and finding strategies that work for the individual. So, in summary, Chapter 2 shows us how biology deeply influences our psychology. From the nervous system and neurotransmitters to the endocrine system and hormones, our brain and body work together to shape everything we do. Understanding these systems not only helps us grasp how we think and act, but also empowers us to take control of our health and well-being. Thank you all for paying attention to this important chapter. We've learned how understanding the connection between biology and psychology helps us take charge of both our mental and physical well-being. From how neurons communicate to how hormones influence our behavior, this foundational knowledge allows us to better understand ourselves and others. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where we'll explore consciousness. In this upcoming section, we'll discuss how our awareness of ourselves and our surroundings influences behavior, the stages of sleep, the science behind dreams, and how altered states of consciousness, like hypnosis and meditation, can impact our perception. Until then.